All right, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is doing great this fine Sunday. So my name is Hồng Ngọc, and shall we get to know each other a little bit first? I usually joke with my friends that I'm a princess. And why is that? That is because ever since I was a little kid, I think ever since I was born, I was treated like a literal princess. So as the only girl in my family, my parents are very protective of me. But at the same time, they try to give me everything they could in the world. So just like the Ariana Grande song, I want it, I got it. So living in an environment like that, growing up like that, it is very hard for me to be independent and do anything on my own. So when I was 15, my parents finally gave me the chance to go away, to be on my own. I went to the US to study. So to prepare me for life away from home, my parents sent me to cooking classes, and they tried to teach me basic skills like doing my laundry and such. Well, you would have thought that I would be independent by then and do everything on my own, but no. I was fortunate enough to live with a host family who cared for me as their own. So my host mom cleaned my room for me, she did my laundry for me, and of course, she cooked for me too. So it's like I'm getting a second mom miles away from home, and I didn't have to do anything still. So life back then was just so great. It was like a pink sky, and I'm just a bird flying through it, relaxing. And then I had to go back to Vietnam. I was a bit scared though, because during the 3 years that I was abroad, I have lost most of my connections. I was scared that I wouldn't fit in, wouldn't blend in. But still, I came back, and I was fortunate enough to meet friends who spoiled me and loved me. So I didn't have any obstacles to overcome at all. Well, I had a few heartbreaks here and there, but that's no obstacles to me. So I just thought that, life is so great, there won't be any hardships ever, and I'll just be living like this. Until one day, I encountered what I thought would crash me down. Just so you know how unbelievable it is to me, I had a very hard time to get over it. Until this point, when I flash back to what has happened, it's still very hard to digest. And that was when I realized that I was not ready for the adult world, the real world, at all. The adults in my family said that it was a canon event for me to grow, and I have to admit that I've changed a lot since then. So long story short, me and 4 other members of my group was in this competition, and this competition had magnificent effects on our life. And we worked so hard in preparing and getting ready for this competition. And as we were so serious, we were all confident that we would nail this competition and even get high scores. But they always say that reality slaps you in the face, and in my case, it hurt really bad, because only 2 of us passed, and I wasn't one of them. At the time, the only question in my mind was, why is it that I failed when I put in the same amount of work, of effort, of time? I found it so unfair to the point where I filed a complaint to the organizer of this competition. And you know what they did? They failed all of us to be fair. Yeah, so I was speechless. I was so helpless. I didn't know what to do. And as a person who has walked on a Silk Road most of her life, I could not handle this event emotionally. So all I could do was cry, and I cried a lot. Yeah, and why did I tell you this story? What's the moral of it? My purpose is to be naked about how I realize what the real world is. So when this event happened, every adult in my family went and talked to me to make me feel better. And I noticed how they all said the same thing. That's a part of life. So what exactly is a part of life here? Bill Gates once said, "Life is unfair. Get used to it." So you see, I tried to find equality by filing a complaint, but nothing happened. I even made the situation worse. So what did I do? All I could do was to learn to accept. So you see, life is full of unfair situations, and you have to learn to adjust, to be comfortable when it happens to you. Just know that this world is uncertain, it's unpredictable, and not everything will go as planned. They have this saying, no expectations, no disappointment. So all I'm trying to say here is always, always set the most realistic expectation as possible to reduce the disappointment when unfair circumstances occurs. It is okay to feel emotions like anger, frustration, and even sadness. These are totally normal emotions as we are just human beings. Allow yourself to fully feel and experience these emotions. You know the 5 stages of grief? This is kind of the same. Just allow yourself to walk through these processes step by step. Try to view the challenges as opportunities for personal growth and development. There's always a lesson after difficulties. So try to learn that lesson, and for sure, these lessons will be so useful and applicable in the future. Setbacks and hardships are totally normal in this world. It happens every day. But the ability to overcome them shows how strong and mature you are. Along the line with what I've said, I want to emphasize that there is no black and white in this world. The line, the boundary is very thin, it's blurry. So don't try to clarify what's right and what's wrong, as we are living in a gray, complex world where circumstances, motives, and consequences intermingle in complicated ways. A situation becomes very hard to understand when factors like personal histories and external pressures comes into play. Moreover, people with different backgrounds, beliefs, and values, they will view different situations in a different point of view. So try to understand that. Practice empathizing. Once you understand that people might be acting and making decisions based on their own experience in the past, based on their beliefs, based on their values, it'll be easier for you to rationalize and connect with them. Every time you find a situation hard to understand or someone's action hard to understand, try to put yourself in their shoes and see this situation from their point of view. Another thing is you should continually enhance your knowledge of the world. See more mindsets and different point of views. The more you know, the easier it is for you to sail through this complexity of the world. It is the same for when it comes to decision making. Remember that there's no right, there's no wrong, only the most suitable. So think critically and always consider the situation, the people involved, the consequences before coming into a conclusion. All I'm trying to say here is life is uncertain, unpredictable. So we can't always categorize everything into the right and the wrong brackets. So you have to get used to changing circumstances and get used to not always getting the black and white answer and not always being able to act according to your heart. So basically, adulting is a lifelong and complex process. It's from basic things like learning how to take care of yourself, managing your financials, enlarging and keeping your network, and etc. But the most important thing is, summing up from what I've been talking about, is to work on your emotional intelligence. It is okay to fall, to get hurt, but then you have to get up and you have to learn. They said that experience is never ending, so don't be hesitate to put yourself out there, to face situations and circumstances that you might not be familiar with. And it is totally okay if it rubs the wrong way, if you get hurt so bad. But what matters is the lesson that you receive after each time. There's always rainbows after the rain. And growth will definitely 100% comes after every failure and challenges that you encounter. So help yourself work up the courage and strength to step into this adult world. And that is the end of my speech. Thank you for listening.
Và đó là speaker Hồng Ngọc, thưa quý vị. Cảm ơn chị Hồng Ngọc rất nhiều với những chia sẻ rất là chân thành, rất là ý nghĩa về hành trình của chị. Và Quỳnh Anh ở bên trong cánh gà, khi mà Quỳnh Anh lắng nghe thì Quỳnh Anh cảm thấy rất là ngưỡng mộ vì hành trình của chị rất là có rất là nhiều kỷ niệm, rất là rực rỡ. Và Quỳnh Anh tin rằng là các bạn trẻ ngồi dưới đây ai rồi cũng sẽ phải trải qua những cái giai đoạn như vậy.